Greetings, my name is Marianne Quiroz. I am the co-founder and co-director of Indigenous Roots Cultural Arts Center. We are located on the east side of St. Paul on the 7th Street Cultural Corridor. I'm very excited to be here with you all today as partners of the St. Paul Public Library to bring you a little bit of programming for their Winter Wellness Program. I just want to share a little quick story about my first time at the Sunray St. Paul Public Library. I just had immigrated from the Philippines, and my family and I actually lived across the street from Sunray Library, and that's where we would spend, my siblings and I would spend our days after school, checking out books, and that's how actually we learned how to speak English from a lot of the programming that went into the library. So have deep connections to the east side, definitely deep connections at the Sunray St. Paul Public Library. And I'm super excited that we're able to make this connection and continue to make these connections with our youth. As someone who is passionate about youth work and want to lift up youth voices and youth representation, I'm super excited to share this space today with members of the International Indigenous Youth Council, the Twin Cities chapter, with Reina Day and Ruthie Mejia are some of the members that will be sharing with you stories and recipes, poems, and a little bit about themselves, about what they do to take care of themselves during the long, cold, and long, dark days of winter that comes to us. And so I think it's always important that we share and exchange cultural practices, cultural teachings that have been passed on from one generation to the next. It's important for us to be able to share these experiences with one another to keep us kind of warm and cozy and connected during these cold winter days, and especially more because we are in this pandemic right now. So we want to say thank you to St. Paul Public Library for giving us the opportunity to share a little bit about the work that we do here at Indigenous Roots. Thank you.
Hey y'all! So today we're gonna be looking for cedar trees so that we can harvest our cedar. We're gonna be making tea with that cedar. We're gonna be showing you how to properly harvest, because there's protocols and like special ways that you're supposed to harvest. And, you don't want to just show up to any cedar tree and be like, snip snip. No, that's very disrespectful to the tree and to Mother Earth. So we'll go ahead and show you step by step what you should do, and then what to look for when you're looking for cedar trees. And so we're out here in the community. Am I missing anything, Reina?
And then we're also going to share some stories and some poems with you today as well.
So stick around.
And stay tuned.
Tumalsinu, Naniulatana, Rutiba, Nawapil, Mayanika, Usulutan, Cuscatlan. Hello relatives, my name is Ruthie Mejia. I am from the Nawapipil and Mayalinka Nation. As Marianne mentioned, we are IOIC, or International Indigenous Youth Council, Twin Cities chapter. IOIC seeks to organize youth through education, spiritual practices, and civic engagement to create positive change in our communities through action and ceremony. The IOIC commits to building a sustainable future for the next 7 generations. Thank you for joining us. As I mentioned, my name is Ruthie. I am currently a 3rd year at Augsburg University studying an interdisciplinary major, as well as an American Indian Studies major. I also currently work with our youth at Indigenous Peoples Task Force over in Minneapolis.
Bonjour, Mililusa Hawaiian Indigenous Cause, Juwesi in Dem. Hello, all my relatives. My name is Reina Day. I come from the Boys Fort Band, which is located in northern Minnesota. And what I said to you in Ojibwe was that my name in Lakota is Rapid Water Woman. And then I come from the Mountain Lion clan, which represents my father's heritage. And I'm 19 years old and I currently attend Hamlin. I am a junior and hoping to graduate in May 2022, so that's something that I'm really excited and looking forward to. I organize and do a lot of collaboration with Indigenous Roots Young and also the International Indigenous Youth Council Twin Cities chapter. And today I'm really excited to show how to make tea, especially with one of the great trees and kind of sacred herbs that we have located here, which is sometimes really located outside just our front door and our front steps. So I'm really excited. And one way that I take care of myself during these cold winters is that I really like to read, and I honestly really spend a lot of time listening to music. And sometimes I just plug in my headphones and just sing, and sing so loud that sometimes I get embarrassed when I think about watching videos of myself singing. But just having that time, and I do a lot of movement. So that's something that I really like to do during these harsh winters, just because, as Ruthie said, especially during this pandemic, being outside and just certain activities are really limited. So just being able to find that safe place, I'm really grateful that I have my house where I feel safe enough to be able to just dance, cook, cry sometimes. Crying is really important. But that's something that I really do during this pandemic, especially during the polar vortex that we had, which is pretty intense. And just taking care of myself through eating, drinking water, staying hydrated, and just also being able to move your body.
We want to make sure that we acknowledge that we are on currently occupied Lakota and Dakota land, as well as Anishinaabe land.
I think it's that over here. No, I think that looks like the leaf, right?
I think there are some cedar trees.
I think that's cedar too. The leaves are nice and green, sprouting. Beautiful spring day. Is it cedar?
I think it's cedar. You can tell by the way the leaves.
Cedar? Cedar. Once you find a cedar tree, whatever location you're at, remember that anytime you're about to harvest anything from the earth, you also have to offer a sema and give thanks to that tree or to whatever you're harvesting for the permission for us to use it. And so that is what Reina's gonna do right now.
Yeah, so today in this bag I have some traditional Asema tobacco. I'm gonna put it in my left hand because your left hand is your closest to your heart. And so what we're just gonna say is thank you to the tree, and thank you for its presence, for being here, and for the medicine that it's about to give us. So we're just gonna say thank you and that we love you, and then we're just gonna go put it right towards the end. And then what we're gonna harvest today is just a couple bunches, and we're gonna take some scissors and just cut.
Remember, don't over harvest because that will damage the whole ecosystem. Cedar trees come in all shapes and sizes, so if you're having trouble find them, just look closely at the leaf and you'll smell the cedar on there. See, this one's a little shorter, these ones are a little taller, and if you look over there, those are really tall trees. So don't worry if you can't find it on the first time. But don't forget, once again, don't forget to lay down your asema. All right, so once you have your cedar, make sure to clean off anything on the cedar. You don't want to drink bugs or whatever dirt crumbs. So go ahead and wash your cedar because you never know what could be on the cedar. Hello again. So this next poem is by Sarah Stern, who is an enrolled member of the Cherokee Nation, works for Johns Hopkins Center for American Indian Health, where she works closely with tribal communities to improve adolescent health, alcohol, and drug abuse prevention and nutrition. It's untitled. I want to be as strong as this tree, to live through the years of injustice, growing taller, stronger, and stretching my limbs toward the sun. A reminder that a new day is coming, and I will be strong, and that one day it will be better, we will be stronger, we will be resilient.
Hey Ruthie, you forgot something.
I forgot something?
Why did you choose the poem?
Oh, I chose the poem because it talks about being strong and resilient, you know, and we're by these beautiful cedar trees that are strong and resilient and have always been here, and I've seen so much. And so I felt like the poem really connected to that aspect, you know, that we're like trees. Like, we stand tall, we're resilient, we're still here, we've always been here, #land back. So, you know, that's why I really enjoyed this, and I felt it really fitted with our cedar tea and learning about cedar trees and learning about the traditional Ojibwe teachings. So that's why I chose it.
Hey Ruthie, why don't we go back and actually make some cedar tea and share some stories?
You know what? That sounds like a great idea. We shall go back to the studio.
Off we go. All right, so we're gonna hop in the Blue Buffalo and then head to the center.
Let's go. Raina, we made it back to the studio.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Wait, let's go.
Oh yeah, don't forget to mask up to protect our communities. Hi.
Hi, so as we mentioned earlier, we're going to be making cedar tea. We're really grateful that these are one of the sacred herbs that we have growing right outside our front doorsteps. So this is what cedar looks like. So we're going to be using these branches of cedar. You don't really need a lot, and you know, when we ask that when you go harvest cedar that you offer tobacco to those spirits and to those plants, you know, just to offer permission, just that, you know, you're taking, you know, that medicine, and we only ask that you take what you need. So we're just going to be using these few bundles today, and then you're also going to need a bowl. Something that I really like to add to my cedar tea is cinnamon, just because it adds that extra flavor and that extra sweetness. And then also today you're going to be needing about 4 cups of water, and then we're also going to be needing a burner today.
Whoa there! Hey! Kids, make sure that you have a parent available to help you with this process. Tasakamati. Winters here in Minnesota are very long, and a few of the ways that I cope with that, you know, we don't get to see the sun a lot. It gets cloudy. You can't go out a lot unless you're trying to bear the cold, which props to you if you would do that. But some of the ways that I do cope with that is I play a lot of my musical instruments in my dorm, and because of the pandemic we can't really meet with folks, but over Zoom it's really nice to just share songs and share different just community ways. The other way that I really help ground myself is being part of the danza group Kapuli Ashinotzli, where we continue to practice our traditions and cultures and the Mexican teachings. Those are just a few ways. I really like tea, so I'm really excited to be making tea with everybody.
So today we're going to be reading the Mishomis book, which was written by Edward Benton Benet, who has done a lot of great spiritual work and a lot of movement work that was really influential to the American Indian movement here in the Twin Cities and all across Turtle Island. So we're going to be reading specifically chapter 2 from this book, and that's called The Original Man Walks the Earth. Bonjour, I have more Ojibwe stories to tell you. These teachings have been handed down to me by my grandfathers. In the last chapter, we learned of how original man was created and lowered to the earth by the creator, Gichimanidu. After original man was placed on earth, he was given instructions by the creator. He was told this earth and named all of the animals, the plants, the hills, and the valleys of the creator's garden. Original man had no name of his own yet. Later, people would refer to him as Anishinaabe, and still later, Wenabuju. But at this early time, he had no name, would name all of the creation. As original man walked the earth, he named all of the Nibis. He identified all the rivers, streams, ponds, lakes, and oceans. He learned that there were rivers that ran underground. These are the veins of Mother Earth. Water is her lifeblood. It purifies her and brings food to her. Original man had also named all the parts of the body. He even named the bones and organs inside the body. While original man was carrying out the instructions given to him by the Creator, he noticed that the earth had 4 seasons. All life was part of a never-ending cycle. These plants were given new life in the spring. With the coming of summer, they blossomed and bore the seeds for the next generation. Some of the plants produced fruits. The seasons: winter, spring, summer, and fall. A never-ending cycle. In the fall season, the leaves of many of the plants turned from green to many spectacular colors. The leaves gradually fell to the ground as the days got shorter and the nights got colder. In winter, the cold winds of the north brought the purifying snows that cleansed Mother Earth. Some of the plants died and returned their bodies to Mother. Other plants fell into a deep sleep and awoke only when Grandfather Sun and the warm winds of Shawona announced the coming of spring. As original man traveled the earth, he identified what fruits were good to eat and what was not to be eaten. As he went, he found that some roots were good for food and others were good for medicine. Some roots could be used to make dyes of different colors and flavorings for food. Other roots could be used as a strong thread in sewing and in making tools. As he walked, original man talked with the animals. He named them as he went. He noted that some animals were good for wisinen and medicine. He noticed that each type of animal had its own individual kind of wisdom. He did not know what all these plants and animals would play an important part for all the people that would be coming to live on the earth at a later time. Original man traveled everywhere. There was not one plant, animal, or place that was not touched by him. In his travels, original man began to notice that all the animals came in pairs and they reproduced. And yet, he was alone. He spoke to his grandfather, the Creator, and asked, "Why am I alone? Why are there no other ones like me?" Gichimanidu answered and said, "I will send someone to walk, talk, and play with you." And he sent Maingan, the wolf. With Maingan by his side, original man again spoke to Gichimanidu. "I have finished what you all asked me to do. I have visited and named all the plants, animals, and places of the earth. Now what would you have me do?" Gichimanidu answered, "Original man and Maingan, each of you are to be brother to the other. Now both of you are to walk the earth and visit all the places again." So original man and Maingan walked the earth and came to know all of her. In this journey, they became very close to each other. They became like brothers. In their closeness, they realized that they were brothers to all of the creation. When they completed the task that Gichimanidu asked them to do, they talked with the Creator once again. And the Creator said, "From this day on, you are to separate paths. You must go your different ways. What shall happen to each one of you will also happen to the other. Each of you will be feared, respected, and misunderstood by the people that will later join you on earth." And so Maingan and original man set off on their different journeys. The last teaching of the wolf is important to us today. What the grandfather said to him has come true. Both the Indian and the wolf have come to be alike and have experienced the same thing. Both of them mate for life. Both have a clan system and a tribe. Both have been hunted down for their hair, and both have been very close to destruction. We can tell about our future as Indian people by looking at the wolf. It seems as though the wolf is beginning to come back to this land. Will this prove that Indian people will cease to be the vanishing Americans? Will Indian people emerge to lead the way back to natural living and respect for our Mother Earth? The teaching about wolf is important for another reason. From the wolf came the Aniwish, the dogs that are our friends to our people today. They are brothers to us, much like the wolf was to original man. Because Gichimanidu separated the paths of wolf and man, and since our dogs today are relatives of the wolf, we should never let dogs be around our sacred ceremonies. To do so, we would violate the Creator's wishes and endanger the lives of those participating in the ceremony. So also, dogs are not supposed to be around places where ceremonial objects are stored. Some tribes today honor dogs in special ceremonies. This is done to recognize the special brotherhood that existed between Wolf and the original man. It is from the sacrifices of that original man in naming all of the creation that our naming ceremonies today are taken. For this ceremony, a medicine person is asked by the father and mother of a child to seek a name for their young one. The seeking can be done through fasting, meditation, prayer, or dreaming. The spirit world might seek to the medicine person and give a name for that young child. At a gathering of family and friends, the medicine person burns an offering of tobacco and pronounces the new name to each of the 4 directions. At those presents, repeat the names each time it is called out. In this way, the spirit world comes to accept and recognize the young child with the new name. It is said that prior to the naming ceremony, the spirits are not able to see the face of the child. It is through the naming act that they look into the face of the child and recognize him as a living being. Thereafter, the spirit world and all past relatives watch over and protect this child. They also prepare a place in the spirit world that this living being can occupy when his life on earth is at end. At this ceremony, the parents of the child ask 4 women and 4 men to be sponsors for this child. It is a great honor to be asked to fill this position. After the child is given a name, each of the sponsors stand and proclaim a vow to support and guide this child in his development. In this way, a provision is made by which the child will always be cared for. Through this naming ceremony that was started by original man, continuity is given to the lives of the people who would come to inhabit the earth. Today, we should use these ancient teachings to live our lives in harmony with the plan that the Creator gave us. We're able to do these things if we're able to be the natural people of the universe. So that concludes chapter 2. We really wanted to share this book because in Minnesota, we know that the Anishinaabe people and the Lakota and Dakotas are one of the original peoples that were on this land first. And it's really important for me to share my cultural history and my teachings with everybody, and so this is just a really good book that really shares a lot of like our oral history and traditions, and so that's why we also wanted to share with you. And now also we're gonna see how our tea is doing. All right, so this is simmered for about 15 minutes. So it should be kind of like a dark brownish color, and that's when you know the leaves have fully immersed in the water. And so I'm just gonna pour Mirutia just a cup so we can taste it for you guys. Obviously, we ask that you remove the leaves so you don't drink any leaves, just to you
don't choke on anything. You don't want that type of stuff in there.
And then you can usually just drink this without any sweetener, or you can add honey or some agave. It's just your personal preference.
Personally, I like agave. Sweetness in there.
But like I said before, this tea is really good just to help you to prevent any colds, or also when you're sick at home and you think you're about to get sick, this is something that's going to be really good because it's really going to clear out your system and just really make you feel warm and cozy, especially during this winter months and us just getting out of a polar vortex. So let's try the tea. Nice.
Yeah, I hit the spot.
Yeah, it tastes really good.
Also, the aroma in there, that's also when you know it's good. It smells really nice. That cinnamon is coming through, so very nice. Wow, Raina, this tea turned out really good. Do you think you could read us another chapter in your book?
Yeah, let's read chapter 10, The Clan System of, again, the Mishomis book by Edward Benton Bennett. So, we learned how the water drum came to the people. The Medewan religion taught the people how to use the powers of the spirit world to treat their sickness. The Medewan gave the people a sense of a spiritual strength to be balanced with its twin, the physical side of life. The people were no longer frail and began to live longer, but the Creator remembered how the Earth's people had suffered in the past. He decided that the Earth's second people needed a system, a framework of government to give them strength and order. To do this, he gave them the clan system. There were 7 original clans: the crane, the loon, the fish, bear, marten, deer, and bird. Each of these clans were given a function to serve for the people. The crane and the loon clans were given the power of chieftainship. They were given to the people with natural qualities and abilities for leadership. Each of these two clans claimed to be the original chief clan. They were both given the respect of chieftainship. By working together, the Crane clan and the Loon clan gave the people a balanced government, with each serving as a check on the other. Between the two chief clans stood the Fish clan. It was sometimes referred to as the Water clan. The Fish clan was made up of the intellectuals of the people. They were sometimes called stargazers, since they were known for their constant pursuit of mediation and philosophy. The Fish clan members would settle disputes between the two chief clans if a deciding vote needed to be cast. This built-in ability of the clan system to resolve differences of opinion greatly added to its effectiveness as a governing body. And then again here it shows that the Crane and the Loon were chieftainship, the Fish were the intellectuals, the Bear were the police/herbal medicine people, the Martins were the warriors, the Deer were the gentle people, and the Birds were the spiritual leaders. The Bear clan serves as the police force of the people. They spent most of their time patrolling the outskirts of the village so as to ward off any unwelcome visitors. Because of the large amount of time they spent close to the nature, the Bear clan became known for their knowledge of plants whose roots, barks, or leaves could be used as medicines to treat the ailments of their people. The Martin clan served as a warrior clan for the people. They provided the force to protect the village at all costs from outside invaders. They became known as master strategists in planning the defense of their people. The Deer clan was known as the clan of gentle people. They were the pacifists. It was said that people of the Deer clan would not even indulge in using harsh words of any kind. They were the poets of the people. There are those who say that it was the moose and not the deer who were the leader of this clan. Others in the northern regions of the hemisphere claim that it was the caribou who was the clan head. Eventually, all the clans diffused out into different divisions, but always one animal represented the head or king of the clan. The turtle, for instance, was the head of the Fish clan. The Bird clan was the final clan and represented the spiritual leaders of the people. Its members were noted for their intuition and sense of knowledge of what the future would bring. They are said to have the characteristics of being the eagle, the head of their clan, in that they pursued the higher elevations of the mind, just as the eagle pursued the higher elevations of the sky. So the Creator gave the people the 7 original clans to provide leadership in all areas. One of the natural laws that the Creator gave the people, along with the clan system, was that there was no intermarriage of people in the same clan. In this way, the blood of the earth's second people would be kept pure and strong. It is said that the people of the Deer clan once violated this natural law and began marrying with their clans. The Deer clan people were sent warnings. Their children started to be born with defects. They made no correction in their ways. Finally, the Creator was so disturbed by this departure from the way of harmony that he destroyed the Deer clan in its entirety. For this reason, there are no members of the Deer clan amongst the Ojibwe people today. This is actually true. They don't have the Deer clan anymore. Yeah, I know. The clan system became an important part of the Medewan Lodge. Each of the clans was given a function and a place in the Medewan Lodge. All of the clans were held together by the force of the water drum. It was the responsibility of the Bear clan to guard the doorway of the Medewan Lodge. Inside the lodge, the clans would take their responsibility in the order that was given to them by the Creator. After the clan systems were given to the people, the 7 grandfathers sent 7 spiritual beings to earth to clarify how the clan system was to be used and to amplify the meaning of many gifts often taken for granted in life. The beings came to the people out of the water. They brought many teachings meant to sharpen the senses of the people. It is said that the first 5 beings brought messages pertaining to the 5 senses of man: touch, smell, taste, hearing, and sight. The 6th being brought teachings about intuition, a special sense that goes beyond the ordinary senses. It was a special sense that few people recognized in their lives. When the people looked to the 7th being to see what gift it was that he brought to them, they saw that his eyes were covered by a blind. The people asked the 7th being, "Why do you hide your eyes from us? What have you brought us?" This being answered, "What I have to give, you may not be ready for." The people insisted that the 7th being uncover his eyes. When he lifted the blind from his face, there were shrieks and screams for the people. All those who saw his eyes fell over dead. The 7th being turned and walked back into the water, but he shouted to the people that he would return when the proper time came, if it ever came. Many people have speculated as to what gift it was that the 7th being brought. Most agreed that it was the ability to see into the future. The people may yet see the seventh being returned with this gift for everybody if the time is made right. While the clan system was empowered, the Ojibwe suffered no sickness or epidemics. There was said to be no wars and very little violence in these days when the clan system was strong. In the clan system was built equal justice, voice, law, and order, and reinforced by its very nature of the teachings and the principles of a sacred way of life. It is interesting to think of where our society might be today if the original people had held the clan system together in its original form and power.
It is very important to take care of yourself during these long winter times, because you have to present yourself for yourself first. Otherwise, you can't continue to do the work that you want to do. And that also doesn't just mean like physically, like what a lot of folks think of self-care as face masks and like bath bombs, which all great things, very great things. But keep in mind that you also have to take care of your spiritual being, your mental being, your mind, your body. All of that is very connected. And if one of those are not operating well with each other, then you can't perform for your community or your family or your relatives at 100%. And so that's why it's super important to take care of your whole body, your mind, and your spirit.
Tumalsinu, everybody. So for our next tea that we're gonna create is gonna be a jengibre and canela tea, which is ginger and cinnamon tea. So what you're gonna need is a pot of water, just like the cedar tea. And then you're gonna let that go and simmer. The next thing you're gonna need is about, depending on how much water you're using, so we're using a small amount, so we're only gonna use about 1 to 2 inches of fresh ginger. Recommend fresh ginger because this will create a different taste rather than the powder or anything. Some properties of ginger: it's anti-inflammatory. It's really good for your digestive system. So if you're having like issues with your digestive system, ginger is really good for that. Also, just smells incredible. You heard some properties of canela. It's also anti-inflammatory. It helps with circulation. And obviously, when you pair them together, they're just like powerhouse here. So once you have your water and you see that it's like, about to start simmering, feel free to add the ginger. And then if you're doing a large portion of the tea, you're going to be adding about 6 sticks of cinnamon. But since we're having, again, a small portion, we're only gonna add 3. You wanna let that simmer. You don't wanna have it over boil. Like, you don't wanna have it boil over. So if you see that it's like bubbling too much, go ahead and turn it down. But we're gonna let that go ahead. But next to me, we have Maestro Senoch. I'm gonna go ahead and let him introduce himself.
My name is Maestro Senoch, or Sergio. I am the co-founder of Indigenous Roots Cultural Arts Center and co-founder of Kalpuli Yausenoshli Azteca Mexica dance troupe. Back to your question. Your question was,
What does Huitzilopochtli mean?
So Huitzilopochtli, the word Huitzilopochtli means left-wing hummingbird. Yeah, it's what literally means left-wing hummingbird.
Left-wing hummingbirds. And so during the winter wellness to keep ourselves grounded and aligned with Mother Earth, and we marked the Huitzilopochtli ceremony. Why do we mark the Huitzilopochtli ceremony?
Yeah. So we marked the Huitzilopochtli ceremony during the Winter Solstice, so our people could center ourselves and align ourselves with the cycles of Mother Earth, with the 4 seasons, and to align ourselves with the cycles of the cosmos and the universe here on Earth. So we line ourselves by marking the seasons, honoring the seasons, being present for those times and those cycles. And Huitzilopochtli is the time that we mark the winter solstice. Right? So winter solstice is when the sun is at its lowest point, which is on December 21st. Our ancestors saw that the sun on winter solstice was always was barely visible. It was very small on the horizon, very small south and to the left. So that's why they named it Huitzilopochtli, which means left-wing hummingbird. So the hummingbird, because the hummingbird is a small bird. The hummingbird that we know today is about maybe 3 to 4 inches long. But pre-invasion, pre-Spanish times, there was other Huitzilopochtlis. There's another Huitzilopochtli that was much smaller, that was called the Huitzilopochtli mosca, or fly Huitzilopochtli. Was tiny, right? So whenever our ancestors saw the sun on winter solstice, they gave it the name of Huitzilin, which is hummingbird, right? But because it wasn't just south, it was south left, right? So they named it lefty hummingbird, left wing hummingbird, because it's a hummingbird that is to the left, or is on its left wing, to the side. That's why they call it Huitzilopochtli. And the other reason why we called it Huitzilopochtli, or why we call it Huitzilopochtli till today, the winter solstice, is because we use a lot of metaphors in Nahuatl, the language of the Mexicas, and our ancestors. There was a lot of metaphor whenever they spoke, and whenever they spoke to the children, to our people. So the Huitzilopochtli it's quite an incredible bird. Huitzilopochtli is very powerful. It's tiny, but it's a very powerful bird. It can slow down their heartbeat almost to death, like almost to the point of right before dying, right? And then come right back up, right? And then it can flap its wings something really crazy, like thousands of times a minute. Really crazy. It can fly up and down, side to side. It can even tip on its head and go up and down. So it's a very strong and an amazing bird, and our ancestors attributed to Huitzilopochtli willpower, right? So willpower in humans, willpower in general. So whenever they saw the sun at its lowest point, from there on, each day after its lowest point, each day the sun comes up a little higher every morning, right? So that was to them that was willpower. That was Huitzilopochtli. The sun had the willpower to always come up little by little to make it to the next sun, right? Which was Xipetotec, or the springtime, right? And so then they called that sun a different sun. It was the Guacamaya sun, right? The macaw. Then it walks over to the summer sun, right? the summer solstice, and that was the eagle. We call that the eagle sun. So Huitzilopochtli is an important time to align ourselves with, and to our ancestors to align ourselves with, because everything in Mother Earth is going into a hibernation state, right? Kind of going into a dormant time, right? To continue to renew in the spring, right? But it needs that. A Mother Earth needs that rest, which is winter, right? In order to come up to spring again. So we celebrate it and we mark Huitzilopochtli just like we mark the other seasons, just like we mark other cycles throughout the year that are important to the Mexica people.
Is there a specific story that is told, and why Huitzilopochtli is represented so much with willpower?
Right. So anytime you see hummingbird, and it's not, it could be a literal hummingbird drawing, but it could be Huitzilopochtli. There's a representation of Huitzilopochtli. Anytime you saw it in our writing, you saw Huitzilopochtli, they're talking about something about willpower, something, maybe a task that was too impossible, but if you have Huitzilopochtli, you can get it done, right? And that's usually how our ancestors, metaphorically, through the observations of hundreds of years and thousands of years, would attribute like, wow, okay, this behavior is like the jaguar. Oh, this behavior is like the eagle. This behavior is like the hummingbird. This behavior is like the deer, right? So we attributed also those behaviors of our relatives within the human behavior, and so we would grab those things and say, like the Huitzilin, right? That behavior, that willpower, we are gonna call that. We're gonna attribute that to Huitzilin, the hummingbird. We're gonna call that Huitzilopochtli.
Thank you. And so Huitzilopochtli, you can correct me if I'm wrong, belongs to the south direction, right?
Yeah.
Correct. Why is that?
So Huitzilopochtli is it's attributed to the direction of the south. Each direction has a guardian, and Huitzilopochtli is the guardian of the south because it's attributed to the winter solstice, to the sun, the child sun, the little sun, right? That fights in the stories of our ancestors, of our people. They saw the Huitzilopochtli sun, the child sun, the little sun, in constant battle every single day to get up a little bit each single day in the sky, right? So that's why it was named Huitzilopochtli. And the other directions have different teachings that go along with those teachings, but in our cosmovision, in a vision of the world for the Nahua people, for the Mexica people, everything is connected, right? So when we talk about, we're talking about Huitzilopochtli, in December, then we're talking about Huitzilopochtli winter solstice, right? But if I'm saying, Ruti, you're telling me I'm having problems, I can't get this done. And I might say to you, Ruti, you have to use Huitzilopochtli, call on Huitzilopochtli, so you can get that task done, right? And then there's the whole teaching behind Huitzilopochtli, so that you understand what I mean. And then you embody Huitzilopochtli, you take Huitzilopochtli within you, you grab that Huitzilopochtli that is within you, and then you get that task done according to the teaching of Huitzilopochtli.
So, thank you so much, Little Cactus. I think our tea is pretty much set. Pretty excited to try it. Yeah, cameraman, can you zoom in a little bit there? Awesome. All right, we're gonna go pour it, and so feel free to when the tea is simmered for about 15 minutes, you're gonna strain it so that way you don't have chunks of ginger in it. If you like to sweeten it up a little bit, agave or honey works, and then just go ahead and try it. So,
why do I feel like a guinea pig? Just kidding.
how is it, Little Cactus?
Let me see. Ooh.
Not bad. Okay.
pretty good,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
pretty good. All right. Well, that is the Canela and Jengibre tea,
like it.
ginger or cinnamon, approved by Little Cactus. So these are just a couple ways, once again, to keep yourself, grounded and coping during these long winter months. And now we learn to call on our Huitzilopochtli, our willpower. So now we'll continue with the rest of the segment. We will be closing with a poem by William Owanda San of the Yaqui tribe of River Valley, California. William is also of Filipino heritage, and he wrote this poem titled Grandma's Land. Around the house stood an orchard of plum, apple, and pear, a black walnut tree, one white pine, groves of white oak, and willow clumps. The home of Jessie was largely redwood. Blood, flesh, and bones sprouted inside her womb of redwood. For 5 generations, after relocating so many years before the war, the seeds of Jessie had returned. Afternoon sunlight on the field, breezes moving, grass and leaves, memories with family names wait within the earth, the mountain, the valley, the field, the trees. Thank you. We picked this poem by William because it really spoke to us about how even in the relocation, even in the trauma that our people have endured, we like to remind ourselves that we are still the product of their resilience. And so I really appreciated the part in the poem where it said, the seeds of Jessie have returned, because it just reminds us that our history didn't start with trauma. Our history has always been resilient. We have always been here, and we are still continue to be resilient Indigenous youth. That's a comment. Once again, we want to thank the St. Paul Public Libraries and Indigenous Roots for this partnership and this space that we're sharing, and these stories and the ancestral knowledge that has been passed down to us. We also want to make sure we acknowledge our elders and ancestors for the knowledge that we have received and shared with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night, day.
Gracias, Comati.